Everyone's waiting. I'll introduce myself. I am Deborah Wanderagala. I'm an enrollment coordinator. I've been with CIEE for 2.5 years, and so I work primarily with students and families with the application process and the pre-departure. I know a lot about the different programs, and I've been to a few of the locations, and I've sent one of my own children on a program. So I have a experience being a student that studied abroad and being a parent that sent a student abroad. So, and then working with all the students and hearing their stories. So I look forward to answering any questions you have and letting you know a little bit about CIE. Tonight, we're going to be specifically looking at the civics and government programs. And then we have two alumni that have been on similar programs that will present a little bit too, and you'll be able to ask them questions because they have firsthand experience and will be a little bit more knowledgeable about the little details about the specific programs. All right, since we're 5 minutes in, I'm just going to get started. So, if you've attended a previous CIE session, you're probably very familiar with this. We have been doing this over 75 years. I think we're getting close to our 80-year mark. So we have a lot of experience with different types of study abroad exchange programs, and we support over 40,000 students every year. So we have seen many different situations and are prepared for most things. And that experience really helps us in any given moment to make sure that students are well taken care of and we know how to handle any situation that does come up. And then we are also a nonprofit, and we are fortunate enough to have a large donor and many other small donors that help us with giving high school students an opportunity to get scholarships to make it more affordable for them to go on our programs. And for our summer high school abroad, we have 40 different locations with centers in these locations where staff are living there year round, and they're from that city or that country living there, so they know everything there quite well and are ready to help the students and welcome them when they're on program. So I think for a lot of students, it can be overwhelming deciding where they want to go. So it helps to think about what topics you're interested in and then figure out what locations are very interesting to you. And so we like to focus when describing our programs on what we call the three F's. So we have fun. Fun is all well, students will always talk about fun first and the friends they meet. All the different fun activities that you do while on program and the things that you learn. And then they do get some free time where they get to explore and decide what fun they want to have. With friends, the number one question I get when students first start an application, oftentimes they're nervous and say, well, can a friend of mine go on the program with me? Yes, you can have a friend come on program with you, but most people don't go on the same programs as friends if they do have friends traveling, because you are going to make friends. It's really easy to make friends when studying abroad because you're all in the same situation where you don't really know each other, and you all have the same interests because our programs are like this one where it's government and civics. So you naturally have things to talk about, and students want to connect with each other. So oftentimes they talk about the lifelong friends they make from CIE and visiting them for several years to come. And then for future, this is really important as well. Our programs are educational based. And so with the language programs, they can get college credit. With the topic program that we're going to be talking about tonight, it isn't a college credit, but it does give you that experience that can really be helpful when trying to decide maybe what you want to major in or what college what you want to study in college, and potential career paths as well. So it's great to be able to go and learn more about this in a different cultural setting as well. And it is beneficial when applying to colleges to talk about that experience that you had while you were studying abroad. It will set you apart. So with our high school summer abroad civics and government programs, we have three main categories. We have diplomacy and government, civic engagement and social change, and then civic engagement and sustainability. And so our classroom time is usually 2 to 3 hours of class time. Students will do some interactive activities, but they will also work on a project. Specifically for our topic programs, they will work in small groups on a project that they present on at the end. Then students will have time for cultural activities in the afternoon with the rest of the program, and then some free time after the what you would, I guess, consider a school day, where they can go around and explore, and then they'll have to be home for their curfew, and the program leaders will be checking in on them. And then on the weekends, they will get excursions, usually a 1 day trip and one overnight, but it can vary by location, just because some locations might just do 2 or 3 day trips and no overnight excursions. So, but you can kind of expect that and hear from the experiences that our two alumni have had as well. Um, With our deadlines, December 1st is the deadline to enter for a free flight uh, raffle, and you do have to have everything completed, including teacher recommendations. So do get that completed if you haven't. If you've started an application already, just remember to get the teacher recommendation now before Thanksgiving. We also have what's called an early decision deadline. So everyone that is going for our merit and financial needs scholarship, um, maybe 10 to 20% of the top applicants will find out in mid-December. So that's kind of a bonus to get in for the early decision. The rest will then be moved to our regular decision, which is in February. And our final scholarship deadline is January 21st. So that is a hard and fast deadline. You do want to make sure you have everything completed by then. I recommend that you try to get it done before the end of the year so that when you're back in school in January, you're not stressing out about it. And then, like I had said previously, our scholarship announcements for our regular scholarship deadline is in February. It's typically the third week of February. All right, and whose slide is this?
This one's mine.
All right, do you want to talk about your experience?
Yes. Okay. So, hello, everybody. My name is Amaria Palacios. I'm a current senior in high school. I studied world governance, which is now diplomacy in government in Amsterdam last summer. So, after my junior year. One thing that definitely drove me to study world government in Amsterdam was that I'm definitely interested in studying government for my major in university. And some of the things that just stood out to me when thinking about my study abroad experience was definitely all of the cool simulations and field trips that we got to experience. So on this first slide, you could see at the bottom in the corner. I mean, it's kind of small, but that's actually the International Court of Justice. So we took a day trip to the International Court of Justice. We got a tour. And honestly, in our Amsterdam program, we took a lot of really cool, I'll say, like excursions. So we did an overnight trip to Brussels and we got to go to the European Parliament. We went to a bunch of museums, like the Van Gogh Museum. I believe there's another slide after this one. It has more photos. Yes, okay. So we got to go to a lot of different art museums, like the Van Gogh Museum. And there's one photo in the top corner, and that's actually the European Parliament in Brussels. So we got to do a tour of that. And then I also mentioned simulations. So we did do a lot of amazing simulations where we would technically pretend to be fictional countries and we'd have to act as those countries in the European Union and in the United Nations. Um, and we also did take classes related to government. and we were taught by a PhD student. His name was Bruno, and so he was actually studying international relations. So he was very educated in that field of government. And these are just all photos from Amsterdam. And it was a really, really great experience, and it was really knowledgeable. Yeah. And if you're interested, this is a QR code you could scan to get $200 off.
Thank you. And what is with your group, kind of the dynamic of it? How easy was it to make friends with the other participants of the program?
It was super easy. I made friends at the airport when I landed in Amsterdam. Everyone was really friendly, and we were all kind of in the same boat. And so it was kind of like, well, where are you from in the United States? And where are you from in the United States? And it's like, you're from California too. And then it's so easy to build relationships. And then, like, on the bus ride to our hostel, which is where we stayed, again, it was just so easy to connect with your fellow peers because they were feeling homesick, and maybe they were from the same state as you, and maybe they were like, yeah, we're super jet lagged too. And it was all kind of a group experience. And by the end of the first day, I definitely had already made 3 or 4 friends on the program.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mariceli. As you can see, I did social peace and diplomacy in Asia, which is now called diplomacy and government. It was 3 weeks in East Asia, and it was split. We did 1.5 week in South Korea, and then we did 1.5 week in Taiwan. And I chose this program because I am also a senior and I plan to go pre-law. So this program felt like a really good way for me to like try different types of the law and like see how other countries do things and like kind of explore my interests. And the whole time we just did a bunch of like government related activities. I put a couple pictures up there. There's more pictures in the later slides, but just some of the things we did is we had an overnight excursion in each country. So we went to kind of like mid South Korea in Korea, and then we went to this island off of the coast of China in Taiwan, and it was very interesting. We got to interact with all of the different political relations of each country, and yeah, that's that. I'm gonna put my QR code in all of the bottoms of each slide. So if you guys want to scan that, you can. On this slide, I kind of just talk about all the different like activities we had. I think it was really interesting because all of our lectures were led by guest speakers. So whether they were political professors of colleges, whether they were just political experts, like we had so many well versed and well knowledgeable people leading our lessons, which I thought was really interesting. And I personally think I learned so much on this trip. Like I came into my trip like I was interested in the government, but I wasn't an expert in like diplomatic relations and stuff. But when I left it, like I was a pro. I knew so much about the government. I knew so much more about each of these countries. And yeah. And then we met a bunch of important figures. We in like kind of like the leftmost photo is a picture of the legislative yuan, which is kind of like Taiwan's Congress, and we met one of the party members, and we had got to interview him. He was like one of the youngest ones in who was in office, so it was really cool like getting to ask him questions, talking with him, just like kind of seeing how his experience was, what his beliefs were. It was really cool to talk to him. And then also this was a really great opportunity. We had this dinner organized where we got to sit and talk with different political figures of each party of Taiwan's political parties, and we got to talk about them, about their platforms, their interests, like what they stand for. It was really cool because it was so many different parties. We got to hear all the different perspectives, and I like became so well versed in Taiwan's political relations. Like I never thought I would know so much about this until this trip. And then I also just put a few pictures of some of the day trips we did, like the War Memorial of Korea talked about the North Korean South Korean War. The Grand Hotel in the bottom left is where we went to have a dinner. We had a dinner with a bunch of CIEE workers and with these interns that we met at the American Institute of Taiwan, which is kind of like an embassy adjacent facility. And then I also took a picture of North Korea because we did go to the border, and then a picture of China that we took when we went to our overnight on Kinmen Island. And then there's a small picture of me and my friends when we had met Taiwanese students. They're from like this international school, and we got to talk with them on their perspective on Taiwan's politics. So it was really cool, like talking about our different perspectives from like an outsider and from someone who actually lives in the country. Yeah, that's that.
So, when you were speaking with them, how did you have your conversations? Did they know enough English? Did you have to try to speak Korean?
Oh, I did not speak either of the languages when we were there, but they were Taiwanese like international school students, so they were learning English like as a part of their curriculum.
Ah,
So we spoke
okay.
English.
Great.
I
And
Yeah.
you have another slide?
Yeah, I have this one and one more, and then I'm done. But
Okay.
I just want to talk a little bit how, like, even though we were a topic program, we still did so many cultural activities. Like, I put a few photos of a bunch of like the monuments we went to. We went to like Liberty Square in Taiwan, Taipei 101, which is like the super tall building. And we got to try on the traditional clothes of each country. We tried on hanboks at this place in my background, the palace, and then we tried on hanfus in Taiwan. And they took us to like night markets, which is our big thing in Taiwan, and then we also learned how to cook some xiaolongbao. We had a cooking lesson in Taiwan, that was so cool. And we did karaoke in both countries, which is very prominent in Asia. And then this is just a little bit about how we had like a few hours of freedom and independence each day and how we were able to go all around the cities, explore so many different things. I was able to hang out with my friends, go shopping, see different monuments, all of that. And yeah, because going to our classes, sometimes we did have to take public transit. So I think it's really important to know like how they taught us to use public transit. Kind of the first week, they kind of helped us through it. But after that, we were able to take public transit anywhere around the city within a certain radius. But we were able to go to different neighborhoods, different districts, and kind of explore the cities that we were in since we were only there for such a short time. We were only there for like 20, less than 20 days. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
these are
and
my QR
then
codes. I forgot I had this, but if you have any questions, I put my Instagram on there. You can scan that, and then my final QR code.
yeah, we'll be yeah, so can sign up for more sessions. We are on the last night of our sessions, but I'll be opening this up to questions too. So we can have people put it in the question and answer, the Q&A box, and then we'll read those out loud and see who might be able to answer that. Oh, it's the end. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to a different slide. And we can kind of just go through these slides again. See if does anyone have any questions for our alumni? Yeah, so can you speak about staying at a hostel?
Yeah, definitely. So I know when people think of hostel, they think of like sharing a room with like strangers, but in CIEE, you're only sharing a room with people from your program, but maybe your neighbors will be strangers, but it's actually really cool. So we were there for 3 weeks, and I kind of categorized my 3 weeks as like the different eras of like European kids that were staying in our hostel. 'Cause like 1 week it was a bunch of like French kids, and then the next week it was a bunch of like German kids, and like the week after that was a bunch of Spanish kids. Um, so that's like it's more personal than like a hotel might be, or like if you're staying with like a host family. But other than that, like you were sharing a room with your roommates who were in CIEE, so the only time you would really like see like random people, I guess, would be if you were going to eat breakfast. They had like a cafeteria where you could eat breakfast, or if you were down and they had like a lounge slash game room. So if you were down there, you might, meet some Dutch people from the neighborhood.
It's like, yeah, so let's see. The multi-site Asia program is significantly more expensive. Does it include transportation between countries? Between the two countries, yes, it was covered, correct? Or maybe you're not aware. But yeah, it's so for our programs, it's to the country that they're starting at and then back home from the country that they're ending at. Um, Yes, typically for our topic programs, they're staying in a hotel or hostel. A lot of times they are very similar to one another, just because they're very common throughout the world. And sometimes people have the idea that a hostel is very sketchy, but what if we use a hostel, it's going to be a very secure location where you need to have a clearance and able to go into where students are staying. And then typically we try to do a whole floor or maybe even multiple floors. Um, and then
Oh yeah, sorry, can I just add on that? Sorry.
sure.
Yeah, in Amsterdam, we had like an entire floor for our CIEE students. So like our neighbors were typically like our other people on the program. And then like she said, you did have to card into the building after dark, after a certain time. And trust me, they were like not quote unquote sketchy at all. Our hostel in Brussels had like a couch in it. Like it was like super roomy and spacious and big. So it's definitely not what you're picturing when you think of a hostel. That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah, and then I can speak from how we handle things, but if either of you have this experience, were either of you ill and how were illnesses handled, or did any of your uh, CIE mates on the program have any illnesses, and how did you see those being handled?
I didn't get sick, but one of my close friends did get very, very sick on like one of the last few days of our trip. But they handled it so well. As soon as she was said she wasn't feeling good, since it was so hot, they didn't make her go outside and like walk around with us. They let her sit. One of the lessons she did stay in the hotel for, and then the second lessons they had took the second day that she was sick, they took her to a local hospital so she could get medicine for her stomach and for her head. And they got like these, I don't even know exactly what they were, but they had like these patches for her head that she said felt amazing and made her feel so much better. But yeah, they were very diligent when it came to handling her sickness because they made sure that she like they made sure that she was brought food because she was staying in the hotel. She was brought both breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and she was given medications to help her, medications specific to her, whatever she was feeling to help her feel better.
Hmm. And
Um,
then we do, oh,
Oh,
sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, yeah, I definitely agree. In Amsterdam, I don't know what was going on, but a lot of kids actually got sick on program. I think one of my roommates, it was like our first night there, and she was like had a fever. But like our program leaders handled it spectacularly. They were like taking them to the doctor, checking on them like every hour, like making sure everyone was okay. And I know personally when I got sick slash injured, one of the program leaders like was like, okay, we're going to a pharmacy, and she was like taking care of me and like making sure that I was okay before going back to our like lesson and making room for my accommodations. So they definitely care a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, and again, they are definitely very diligent when it comes to our health.
Yeah, so typically the way we handle it is like the program leader or site staff will make sure that the student gets to the clinic if they need to, and then any medications that they need, they'll contact parents and let them know what is going on. And then we do have INX insurance, so you can submit those for reimbursement. But yeah, it's common for students, especially that first week, to fall ill because of all the traveling and all the new things they're exposed to. They're overly tired. So maybe different foods, things like that can really upset a stomach or, cause someone not to feel well. So a lot of minor illnesses are common. Fortunately, it's pretty rare for anything major to happen in the short stay while they're there, but they're used to handling that as quickly as possible and then making sure the student can get back on to participating in the programs as quickly as possible. Okay, and then they're asking a question about social justice programs specifically on the educational content. Um, so both of you were more about the government, social justice. The best thing for that question, if you're looking at a specific program, is that we can send you a syllabus if it's something that has taken place previously. If it's a new program, then we'll send you a syllabus of a similar program. That ran last year, but I think really diving in and getting to know what they do on those. So I would recommend reaching out to your enrollment coordinator if you already started an application. If you haven't started an application, then I'll go to the last slide here. Oh, it doesn't have it on here, but it's HS Abroad. I'll put that in there for in the chat before we leave. But all of our documentation and emails that get sent out, it does say HS Abroad at CIEE.org. So you can just contact us through that. Otherwise, if you've already started an application, just reach out to your enrollment coordinator.
I also think that looking at the past year's blogs are really helpful in finding out like what they were learning about, because that's what I did before I went to Asia. I was looking at the last year's blogs, like looking what their program leaders said, looking about what they learned, what they visited, and it wasn't exactly the same, but I got to see like a lot of what they had done in the previous year, and some of it did line up.
Thank you. Yeah, and then are the classrooms in the same building as the hostels? Typically not. The lodging is going to be, and then students will either walk or take transportation to their classrooms.
My first
Anything you want to?
lesson, my in Korea, my lessons were in the hotel. They were in like a
Okay.
meeting room in the hotel, but I do think that was very unique to my program because the
Mhm.
other Korea programs were at the CIE Center or wherever they took place. But that was just for Korea because in Taiwan we did commute to a university, but in Korea that we did go down just a few flights to a meeting room to do our lessons.
Oh,
Um,
you're lucky.
and yeah, and in Amsterdam, we
Oh, you're muted
sorry,
somehow.
sorry. No, I was just saying we did have a CIEE center in Amsterdam, and it was about a 30-minute commute, 30-minute tram ride, 30-minute walk, so it wasn't bad either way. But sometimes if that classroom was being used, because we only had one classroom, we would go to the University of Amsterdam and we would use one of their classrooms.
Right. And then how many pieces of luggage is allowed? Typically one. I think you can pay to have more. We don't recommend bringing too much luggage because you're going to be traveling around and that's a lot of luggage to bring. I don't know. How about for the both of you? What did you do for luggage?
I just kind of brought one big suitcase and a duffel bag. I definitely recommend the duffel bag because if you go on a program with an overnight trip, you do not want to have a giant suitcase with you. So that's kind of what I had in mind, but that was about it.
I pride myself, I'm a really good packer. So all I brought was a carry-on and a personal bag, but I did find it that it was a little bit hard only having those tiny, tiny items going between the two countries because usually what I do is I throw away toiletries so I can pack souvenirs, but going between those two countries, I still needed my toiletries and I had souvenirs, so I did have to use a friend's bag, but I feel like that's kind of a unique problem to multi-destinational programs, but yeah, I you really don't need more than just like a big luggage thing, depending on what you bring, and then a personal item.
You. Um, did you have free time on your own in the evenings and what were your curfews? Because each location makes their own curfew. So how were the curfews for the both of you?
Usually my curfew was around 9 p.m., 9:30. It did vary because sometimes if we were like out later, like as a group, they would let us stay out a little bit later. And on like the last night, they let us stay out a little bit later. And then sometimes they said we could be out like in different rooms with our friends, but we had to be in the hotel at a certain time. But usually it was between like 9:30, sometimes 10, but not usually.
Yeah, curfew, we had to be back. I'm pretty sure in the hostel by 8:30 or 9, and we would just have to like drop a pin and show our program leaders that we were in the hostel. And then obviously we just have to make sure we go to sleep. I think it was by 10, so just make sure you're in your room by 10.
Yeah, also we had room checks. That's how they made sure that we were in our room. They because we were in a hotel, so they would go around to each of our rooms at whenever our curfew was, just making sure that everyone who was supposed to be in that room was in their room.
We also had that too. So
Thank you. And then the background of the program leaders, they are typically, we try for US high school teachers. If it's a language one, then they need to teach that language. If it's a topic program, it can be oftentimes a high school administrator, like maybe an academic counselor that can also apply. In a rare occasion, we will have someone from the site that will be a program leader, but most of the time they're teachers or high school administration that come on the program with the students, and they have to apply just like they're applying for a job. So they go through the full vetting process. How about for both of you? What were your program leaders like?
yeah, so all of our my program leaders were based in education. Um, so I think we had like one that was a principal, and then one she worked in like educational grants, and then one that was like a teacher. But then also our professor, our teacher was also he was basically like another program leader because he was always with us for the activities. So it was just a lot of educators.
Yeah. For this trip specifically, in my Asian one, I had a Spanish teacher and a German teacher, but they still were very helpful the whole trip. But I also did do a language program 2 years ago, and all of my program leaders there were either Spanish teachers or were fluent in Spanish on their own.
Thank you. Let's see, how many other students were in your program? So it can really vary. And then it says, was there more than one cohort doing the same program at the same time? So we consider it all one program, but they'll get split into smaller classes if it's over a certain amount so that they're reasonable class sizes, usually 16 to 20 in a class. And then they'll do a lot of activities together, but it can really depend. Typically with the topic programs, they're probably close to 40. How was it for each of you?
Yeah, I'd say it was about maybe 30 of us in World Gov, but simultaneously we were also there with another program, Smart Cities and Sustainability. So in total, when we would all do things as a group, it'd probably be about 40 of us.
Yeah, my this program was kind of a smaller one. I know it's newer, so it also was smaller. I think somewhere around 30 people, and we were all one class together. But yeah, some other classes were bigger because my last program there was 4 classes, so it does vary. But that was a language program, so yeah. But this program was one class, maybe 30-ish people, maybe less. Yeah.
Okay, looks like these are scholarship questions. Do you have a contact for questions on scholarship application process? The best thing to do once again is reach out to your enrollment coordinator. So if you started an application, they should be communicating with you. I can quickly just go through the scholarship application process. If you're going for the merit and financial need, you list your top three program choices. And then if it's the early decision and you qualify for that, then you'll find out in mid-December and have a week to either accept or decline the scholarship. Um, and then if it's in February, same process. Once you all find out, you'll have a week to either accept or decline. They do try their best to get students into their top three programs. If everybody is going for Japan, there that can be more difficult because there's more demand for Japan than there are for scholarships. It is helpful to have at least one language and culture program if you are going for a merit and financial needs scholarship, just because our biggest donor does prefer that her money go towards language programs. So that's why we just have more capacity to give scholarship for that. But we do have options for all of our programs. They just make it used up faster, so it can be more competitive and harder to get into those. Um, I don't know for either of you did well for the multi-site that's not eligible for the scholarship. It would just be academic merit only or direct enrollment. Um, how about for you, Amora, did you apply for a scholarship?
Yes, I did apply for a scholarship, and luckily enough, I did get one. So that really helped with, program tuition and things. I think I might have gotten almost 3,000. So, I mean, they're really good scholarships.
Yeah, I didn't get one for this trip, and I wasn't eligible because it was my second trip, and I got one for my first trip. But there, I got a similar amount. I went on the Mexico trip, and the tuition was around 5,000 ish, and I got 3,000 covered. So yeah, and I applied. I applied by December 1st. I'm pretty sure, so I was early.
Hey, thank you. And then does everyone eat together? Well, from my experience, students in most locations will get a stipend and then they will have to budget and use that stipend usually on a weekly basis. And so, I mean, students well, they have to stick together at least in groups of two or three. So most of the time, I would say that they're off exploring in their small groups, choosing where to eat, but there are some group activities where you eat together. Can each of you speak to your experience?
Yeah, so I definitely agree. Before we got split up into our two different cohorts for World Gov, we had group A, like group one and group two. We would eat group dinners together. Like on our first or second night, it was like a pancake boat, and we were like all eating together. But then sometimes we'd do like a cooking class, and that would just be like group one eating together. But then most of the time, for the like majority of it, you were with your friends, like in like a trio or like whatever. So you guys were choosing where to eat and eating wherever. So it's really a mix of both.
Yeah, for me, our very, very first meal was a program meal where we all ate together. But pretty much after that, we given our stipend, and then we were on our own to go wherever we wanted and eat whatever we wanted. Sometimes we did organize like program since we were a smaller program. Sometimes we organized program meals like on our own, like as just the students. We did that like maybe once or twice, and then we used our stipend to get meals like with our friends or things. And we did have a few group meals. Like I mentioned, we did have two group program dinners in Taiwan. But yeah, for the most part, we used our stipend and did our own research and figure out what we wanted to eat.
Thank you. Looks like that's all the questions. I like those questions. It's always a mystery of what kind we're going to get. And those were really good questions because those are some of them are ones that I haven't come across too often. Um, so thank you. And I always learn a little bit when I hear from students and their experiences too. Since we have so many programs, there can be little things that vary between programs. And if you do have any further questions, once again, feel free to reach out to your program leader, or sorry, not program leader, your enrollment coordinator. And then if you haven't started an application yet, you can always scan a code. I can go back a few screens and you can scan codes and start one. Otherwise, for just basic questions, you can contact hsabroad@ciee.org or sorry, hsabroad at CIE, yeah, .org. That's correct for our email. All right, any other questions? Oh, here we go. How much did this help your college application for if either of you had started applying?
Yeah, I think it helped me a lot. A lot of my application was talking about CIE. I actually wrote my college essay, my big personal statement about my study abroad experiences. And since I also started the study abroad club at my school, I got to put that on there, and now I get to help other people with their applications and with them going abroad. And I was able to mention it as like one of my extracurriculars and how I filled my summers. So I personally think it was very, very helpful on my college apps.
I also think it was really helpful on college apps because it definitely does make you stand out. Like, it definitely is a very unique experience. And when most people think of studying abroad, they think of doing it in college. Like, when I wanted to study abroad, everyone was like, do it in college. So it's really, I'm going to say, rare to see like a high schooler who wants to it shows that you're taking initiative and you're not afraid of change and you like a challenge. So it definitely shows a lot of good qualities. And again, it does help.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to our presentation tonight. And thanks to our two alumni. You did a wonderful job. And I love hearing about your experiences because I'm so used to helping students work through their applications and ask lots of questions. So it's nice to hear from the other perspective of what it was like on program and the individual programs since there's so many of them. And if there are no other questions, we can end a few minutes early here. And I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your night.